Y'all, what the actual fuck? Welcome to From Center Ice, the shorty episode. My name is Courtney, and I am distressed. Oh, friends. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times being a Blackhawks fan for the last few days. I said I'd be back Sunday. It is not Sunday. After the game on Saturday, I was in a total state of shock, and I needed a little bit of time to process what I had just witnessed on my television. So that processing time then turned into, well, let me wait until I hear the Kajula news, which then turned into, let's do a recap episode along with a preview episode, which turned into me running out of time because I wanted to push out a pregame 3 questions article about Game 2. So here I am. It is Tuesday, not Sunday, and we have collectively witnessed a murder. And that would be a murder at the hands of Connor McDavid, because he got a hat trick Monday night in Edmonton. I don't know if he murdered the morale of the Blackhawks, or if he just stuck a knife into my lungs. Either way, we have witnessed a murder. But like I said, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It has been a tale of two teams. How did we go from flying high to filling in our own grave? Well, you see, yes, like my cat is saying in the background if you can hear him, we did that much like we went from winning 3 cups in 6 years to 2 consecutive first-round playoff exits, one of them being a sweep and scoring only 3 goals in the whole series, and then 2 years consecutively of missing the playoffs entirely, which should have been 3, and I kind of wish it had been because I was not ready for this. I forgot what the playoffs felt like, and I don't think my heart can take this shit. But I digress. Let's start with Saturday, because that's the only way we can do this, is to start from the beginning. And the beginning saw Connor McDavid scoring on the Chicago Blackhawks. How many times am I going to say this in this 5-game series? Probably a lot more than just tonight. So, he scored 2.5-ish minutes into the first period of Game 1, and I went, uh-oh. So, when you see Connor McDavid get on the score sheet within the first 2.5 minutes of a game, within the first 2.5 minutes of a series, within the first 2.5 minutes of a best of 5 series, not best of 7, I think all of our reaction is, uh-oh. Because we cannot rely on the peace of mind that comes from keeping Connor McDavid off of the score sheet. No, we get a kick in the butt right at the beginning, and we just have to assume he's going to keep doing that because that is what Connor McDavid does, and that is what Connor McDavid has done so far in these 2 games. But after that first goal, within the first 2.5 minutes of the series, the Blackhawks decided that they wanted to play some hockey, which, you know, we would assume that they're all here to do since they are very well-paid hockey players, but sometimes I really wonder about that. But this time, they showed up and scored 4 unanswered goals, and probably my favorite goal that we will see in this postseason, Blackhawks or otherwise. And that would be the first Blackhawks goal of the series, which was scored by Dylan Strome. So, I don't talk about Strome very much. And if you've listened to this podcast, you would know that. He's not really a player I talk about very much. He is one of the guys that I had on my players to watch list. So give myself credit for that. Nice pat on the back. But it is my favorite goal because it came off of a misplay by Mike Smith. Dylan Strome picked up the puck when Smith misplayed it, and he banked it in off of Mike Smith's butt into the goal. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. If you are not new to this podcast, you will know that I do not like Mike Smith. So, when I see goals like this go in on him, I get the largest sense of elation in my soul, and this was one of them. It is almost as good as the goal against him, which was another butt goal, where the puck landed in the back of his pants, and he backed into his own goal, therefore putting the puck across the goal line, resulting in a goal against when he was on the Arizona Coyotes. But that was a while ago. He is now on the Edmonton Oilers, and Dylan Strome banked in the puck off of his ass into the goal, and I was excited. And then I got more excited because our captain, Jonathan Toews, who I have given a lot of shit on this podcast, decided he also wanted to show up, and he got 2 goals in the first period. They weren't consecutive. They were broken up by a Brandon Saad goal, because why not? But he got 2 goals in the first period. So altogether, that is 4 goals. 1 by Strome, 2 by Jonathan Toews, 1 by Brandon Saad. Fantastic. Going into the first intermission, up 4-1 against the Edmonton Oilers. At this point, I was stunned. So were you. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Fair. Good contribution. Good talk. Glad we had it. I did not expect the score to look like that. Or if it did look like that, I expected the teams to be reversed and the Blackhawks to be trailing Edmonton 4-1. But no. The Chicago Blackhawks, and I feel like I have to keep saying their whole name because they should have not been anywhere close to the postseason, were up on the Edmonton Oilers 4-1. And then we go to the second period where just over 4 minutes in, Leon Draisaitl scores a goal. And once again, maybe you've heard this before, the reaction is, uh-oh. So now they're both going. They've both scored goals in the first game of the series, and we cannot, like I said, rely on the narrative that we are keeping these 2 guys off of the score sheet. No, they got it out of the way right away. At the beginning of both the first and second period, they scored the first goals of said periods, but they were not to be the stars of the game because Dominic Kubalik, our rookie this year, who is a Calder finalist for Rookie of the Year, decided he just wanted to score 2 power play goals because why not? The Blackhawks have not been good on the power play, so when I saw 2 goals go in for us on the power play, I was once again very confused. Don't get me wrong, I was very excited. I was yelling extremely loud to my cats in my living room. Happy yelling, of course, because we were scoring goals and leading the game. But at the same time, I was very confused, and I was waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, am I going to wake up? Was this all a dream, and I'm going to wake up in the middle of the game somehow, and Edmonton's beating us 10-0. Is somebody going to get brutally injured and just ruin the whole thing? I didn't know what I was waiting for, but I was waiting for something bad to happen. And I guess that sort of came in the third period where James Neal and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins scored 2 goals. But obviously that was not enough to win the game. And Chicago took game 1 6-4. 6-4. Chicago scored 6. Edmonton scored 4. I still don't believe the words coming out of my mouth, but here they are, and they are a little more believable after what we saw on Monday night. But the Blackhawks won Game 1 of the best-of-5 series, 6-4, banked in a goal off of Mike Smith's butt, and got him pulled from the game, all in one afternoon. I was living my best life. It was amazing. Playoff hockey was back. Well, qualifying hockey, their postseason hockey was back. There were meaningful games on my television. Mike Smith got pulled, he got a butt goal, and the Blackhawks won. Fantastic. I was flying, like I said. Go into Sunday, have a whole day of hockey to keep up with. I'm like, when are we going to get to the next Blackhawks game? This is taking way too long. What was I so worried about? I was so stressed going into this postseason. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to be worried about my team. No, they're fine. They put up 6 goals on Edmonton and only held them to 4 goals against. Well, sometimes I am right. A lot of the time I am right, actually. Not to toot my own horn there or anything. Sometimes I really like being right, and sometimes I really, really hate when I am right. And that came on Monday night when I was watching Game 2 of the Blackhawks and Edmonton series. It was a 9:30 p.m. start in Edmonton, so not only did I have to wait all day to see the next game that I was super excited to watch, by the time it rolled around, I was very tired. It was late at night, 9:30 p.m., as I said, and by the time the game was over, it was around midnight. So, not really ideal all around. But if the Blackhawks had won the game, fine. I will stay up as late as they need me to see a good game and to see a win. I will never forget the 2015 playoffs against Nashville, them going to triple overtime. I still had to write a final paper after that game because I said, I'm just going to write it after the game, as you do. And the Blackhawks went to triple overtime, as they do. Unfortunately for me, this paper was due the next day, so I had no other choice but to stay up and write it. Anyway, it didn't even matter. I was too happy. The Blackhawks won their game. I wrote my paper, got an A on it. All was well in the world. That was not the case Monday night because the Blackhawks lost to the Edmonton Oilers 6-3. 6-3. They allowed as many goals in this game as they scored in the first game. They didn't score as many goals in this game as Edmonton scored in the first game. So now we have been outscored in 2 games by the Edmonton Oilers, and who is surprised? Not I. Thankfully, we've only been outscored by 1, but 1 is still being outscored, and I don't like it. Thankfully, the series is tied, but I would be much more comfortable going into tomorrow night's match, also a 9:30 p.m. start, if the Hawks had a 2-0 lead in the series. They do not. It is tied. We start from scratch. It is now a best 2 of 3, and that is terrifying. There is no room for error. If you lose this next game, you are down 2-1 in a series. Edmonton only has to win 1 more, while you have to win 2 more. And I don't think I have faith in this iteration of the Chicago Blackhawks roster to win 2 straight if they dig themselves a hole and go down 2-1 in this series. I just don't. They could prove me wrong. I would happily be wrong at that point. But if they prove me right, hopefully we don't need to figure this out after tomorrow night's game, and we still have a little time to figure out what's going to happen in this series. But if they do end up losing to Edmonton in the best of 5, they do have a very good chance at getting the first overall pick, which is exciting, but I would rather have wins because that is what we are here for. Last season, I might not have said that. I was all aboard the tank train. Let's get the best pick possible. This team sucks. Let's rebuild. But now we have a chance to be in the playoffs, and I want to be there. So they better not let me down Wednesday night in Edmonton. But I say all of this because I am putting off talking about this stupid game Monday night. So, first period. First goal of the game goes to the Oilers. The first goal of the game, once again, goes to Connor McDavid. The first goal of the game is scored 19 seconds into the first period. That's right. I barely had time to breathe before Connor McDavid was moving his feet past our defenseman towards our goalie with the puck bouncing all over the place, and he just puts it gently over his shoulder into the back of the net. Okay, that's fine. We got scored on first in the first game, came back to win 6-4. No big deal. We're just doing that again. He just scored earlier in the game this time, so there's more time for us to catch up. Or not. There is more time for Connor McDavid to score more fucking goals. 4 minutes later, Connor McDavid once again gets past our whole team, including our goaltender, to put the puck in the back of the net. So that is 2 goals within the first 5 minutes for Mr. Connor McDavid. Fantastic. If you're in a 1-goal deficit, okay, you need 1 goal to tie it. 2-goal deficit, that is a lot harder to come back from. But there is this thing called playoff mode Patrick Kane. And he scored 9 minutes and change into the first period. So if you recall, for game 1, I said we could no longer rely on the narrative of keeping McDavid and Draisaitl off the score sheet leading to our success, because they scored both of the first goals in the first and second period. Well, now, after being held off of the goal sheet in the first game, Patrick Kane has scored his first goal of the postseason. And if you wake up the monster that is postseason Patrick Kane, you are going to be in trouble. Now, we didn't see that trouble here in game 2, but if he did not go back into hibernation mode, and playoff mode Patrick Kane is still alive and well going into game 3+, maybe we have a chance. Maybe. That's all I will say about the first period. We go into the second period, and just over a minute and a half into the second period, Edmonton scores another goal, which was Tyler Ennis, which was the player that Drake Caggiula hit, which led to his suspension. That was a tough one to swallow. So Tyler Ennis scores just over a minute and a half into the second period. And I don't necessarily want to get into the suspension. It was only 1 game, so he'll be back for game 3. But he was going for a hit. He was going for shoulder on shoulder. He didn't leave his feet. By all means, it would have been a clean hit if Tyler Ennis wasn't short and leaning over. Now, I don't want to blame Tyler Ennis for getting hit in the head. I am of full support for getting headshots out of the game of hockey because they lead to concussions, which lead to terrible things. What I would like to see is some fucking consistency from the Department of Player Safety. If you're going to give out a suspension for a hit where a player was not targeting the head and was not leaving his feet, I want you to give out a suspension every time there is a hit to the head. But we know they won't. So that is what I am upset about. Not that Drake Caggiula was suspended for hitting Tyler Ennis in the head, because I don't want headshots in the game. What I am upset about is I have seen hits way worse than that not being given any supplemental discipline. That's what pisses me off. So anyway, moving past the Tyler Ennis goal and the whole suspension thing, we get 2 consecutive goals from the Blackhawks. So at this point, it is a tie game. And just like we all suspected going into this series, Slater Cuckoo gets his first goal of the postseason, right? Yes, we all expected our number 6/7 defenseman to be the one to rip a puck past a goaltender. But he did it, and DeBrincat got an assist, Dot got an assist. Great play all around. I was losing my mind. I was super excited, which was then followed up nearing the end of the period by an Olli Maatta goal. Again, who we all had scoring in this series. Slater Cuckoo and Olli Maatta. Regardless. Tie game. Until about 2 minutes later when Connor McDavid gets his hat trick goal. Which... you have to expect it to happen. This guy is a living cheat code. He can skate faster than the fastest car on the road. He can score goals on goaltenders like it's an empty net. He's ridiculous. Best player in the world. Can't get too mad if Connor McDavid scores. But you can get upset when he puts up a hat trick on your team to get the go-ahead goal in a game that you desperately want to win. And even worse than that is there were in-arena staff that came down the aisles in the 100 level and threw hats onto the ice because obviously there are no fans in attendance, but they had hats just waiting to go, which would have been a cool thing. I will give you that. That would have been a cool thing had earlier in the very same day, Andrei Svechnikov of the Carolina Hurricanes not scored a hat trick and gotten no hats thrown on the ice. So if you would have done it for both guys, I would have been like, oh, that's pretty cool. You thought of everything. Nope, just Edmonton, just Connor McDavid. Why not? I get there in their home arena, but still, you should be ready for anything. And any team in this qualifier or the round robin can score a hat trick. Be ready for it. That's all I ask. So, going into the second intermission, the Blackhawks are down a goal. You think, all right, well, time to buckle in, come back and try to make this a game like Edmonton did in the third period of game 1. Of course, they didn't tie it. They didn't win. The Blackhawks took that game. But they did score 2 goals. So going into the third period, still a little bit of hope left. It's fleeting, but it's there. There were 2 goals scored in the third period, but they were not by any Chicago Blackhawk player. No. There was James Neal. There was Alex Chiasson. Both of those do not sound familiar to the Blackhawks roster because they are Edmonton Oilers players. There were no Blackhawks goals scored in the third period. None. None at all. They didn't even necessarily look like they were going to score a goal in the third period. I felt my heart rate just going up and up and up because I was very upset. And then I just felt it getting very, very slow because I was very sad. I was very sad because I did not want to be in the postseason, first of all. I had accepted the fate that the Blackhawks were going to suck this year, that we were going to get another good draft pick, and maybe next year we could compete for a playoff spot, and once you get there, you can compete to make it to the Cup final and play for the Stanley Cup. That is what I had resigned myself to be rooting for. But no, we have this return to play nonsense extended to 24 teams. So, the Blackhawks barely even squeak into that as the 12th place team in the West. And they come out, and I'm like, Edmonton's going to win, and we will get a chance at the first overall pick. And that's just what it is. At least I will get to see my team out on the ice. But they come out in game 1, and they look like the Harlem Globetrotters of hockey out there. They look amazing. Granted, not on defense, but on offense, they look like they could just wish for a goal, and it would appear. And they did that 6 times, and it was amazing, and I had things to cheer for. And after game 1, I had hope. And that is where I went wrong. I had hope that this Chicago Blackhawks team would not disappoint me. And they have. In only the second game of the series, it only took one more game for them to come out and disappoint me. Now you will say, Courtney, it's only been 2 games. The series is tied. It's anybody's game at this point. No, that's not the case here, because this Blackhawks team does not know what defense is. They made us think that they did in game 1. They kept a lot of the shots to the outside. There weren't a whole lot of high danger chances. But in game 2, Connor McDavid got around our defense more times than the amount of fingers that I have, and he scored on 3 of those chances. So I can only imagine what he is going to do to this team in game 3. And I don't really want to know, but I will be sitting in front of my TV. I will be watching, because apparently I like torturing myself. But they gave me hope on Saturday, and then they crushed any of said hope that I had by coming out Monday night looking like the team that I had resigned to getting a good draft pick and not being in the postseason at all, or even close to it, and they shouldn't have been close to it. So here we are. It is Tuesday night. Now it's transitioning into Wednesday. We are about 24 hours out from the result of game 3. Granted, it doesn't go to overtime or double overtime or triple overtime. This is the Blackhawks in the playoffs that we are talking about. I really would not be surprised if we see an overtime game in game 3, 4, or 5, if it goes that long. But if it ends in regulation, we are about 24 hours out from the time I am saying this, from the results of that game. Will I come back and sit in front of this microphone and seemingly talk to myself? Nobody could be listening to this. I could really just be talking to myself. I don't know. Please, if you are listening this far, the kindest thing you could do is head on over to iTunes and give us a rating and a review, please, and let me know that you've listened this far. But will I come back to this microphone after Game 3 and have a glimmer of hope? Or will I be laying on my floor, holding the microphone as close to my face as I can, and recording an hour-long episode of me just groaning into it in psychological pain from this Chicago Blackhawks team that won 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years, and then took that wonderful party bus they had going and drove it straight off a fucking cliff. I don't get emotional about this team. It's totally fine. But that is how the first 2 games of the series have gone. We get game number 3 Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. I believe the pregame starts at 9 on NBC Sports Chicago if you get that channel. If not, just wait until 9:30 for puck drop. We will see who shows up, who doesn't. I can't even say I have a prediction. I have no idea. I could not have predicted how game number 1 went, and then it went that way, and I thought game number 2 would be different. But they fooled me yet again. So we will all stay tuned for game number 3. And if you want to see me live tweeting the game, as I have been doing over on Twitter, you can go follow along at VF Center Ice Pod, or you can follow me and Jacqueline when she is with me on Instagram at From Center Ice Pod. So it has been very nice sitting in front of this microphone, being extra dramatic for you guys. I don't really know where all of this came from. I do have my camera on in front of me. It's not recording right now, but I did record a video for the From Center Ice YouTube page, which we also have. It's been alive as long as the podcast has, really, but we've only been posting the podcast episodes there, just the audio. We haven't transitioned over into video yet, which the 2 of us will do once we get our studio up. But I did record a regular video, so that will be something to look forward to as well. But maybe that is why I am more dramatic, because there is a camera pointed on me at the moment, even though I am not looking at it. So this has been fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope maybe my dramatics could make the loss on Monday a little more tolerable. And I will catch y'all next time. Enjoy game number 3. I hope I will be enjoying it as well. Stay tuned. All right, guys. Bye.